Hi, today I would like to feature a game from Yasser Seirawan. Uh, for those of you who do not know, he's a grandmaster, international grandmaster, and I think he's the only grandmaster that is living right now that has defeated two reigning sitting world champions. While they were world champions, one was Karpov. He defeated Karpov, and the other was Kasparov. And now he's a well-known commentator um, for various chess events that take place throughout the world via the St. Louis Chess Club. So, for those of you younger players that may um, not have not seen some of his games, he's a great strategic player and prefers generally closed opening systems. So here's a game where Seirawan is playing the white pieces against another famous international grandmaster, Jan Timman. And this game is from Hilversum, 1990. So check it out. So d4 from Seirawan, knight f6 from Timman, c4, and now we see e6, knight f3 from Seirawan, avoiding the Nimzo Indian, which would or could occur after knight c3, and bishop b4. Knight f3 avoids that, and if bishop b4 anyway, it's a different system known as the Bogo Indian. But knight f3 took place, and now we see b6, the Queen's Indian. The Queen's Indian is pretty popular. A lot of times players will just transpose into a Queen's Gambit decline with d5. Another option is c5, Benoni. Some Benoni players don't like to play the Benoni when this knight is developed first to c3 because of, let's just give you a quick example. So say after c4, c5, and going into the Benoni like this, sorry, here, okay, I'm bugging up, cg6, and knight c3 for example. Some players don't like to go into the Benoni here because white still has the option of playing f3 or sometimes f4 systems along with e4. So therefore, after knight f3, some players feel comfortable going into the Benoni here with this knight on f3 and eliminating the more aggressive attacking systems by white. So just a thought. But anyway, at the knight f3, b6 was played. And after b6, knight c3, and we can see the battle developing around the e4 square. And the bishop wants to come here, and we see this fight. And so the bishop joins in, fighting indirectly for the e4 square by pinning the knight on c3. Again, fighting for the e4 square by attacking the attacker, or attacking the pinner of this knight. Okay. Another thing is if black takes on c3, white is prepared to capture with the queen instead of the b pawn if he so desires. c5, protecting the bishop, reinforcing the bishop, but at the same time leaving some pressure against the d4 pawn now. a3 from Seirawan. This is called putting the question to the bishop. Now that these pawns are here, the bishop is forced to capture. But like I said, practically, but this is an option because now b4 is not available because the queen is blocking. So although black could capture there, it does many times, he does have a flexible enough position where he can delay this capture till later. Okay, so with this bishop out of place a little bit, bishop g5, and this pin can be very annoying because this bishop, of course, would be useful on the e7 square to block that pin. And again, we're still continuing our fight for e4 indirectly by pinning this knight on f6. The knight is taken out of the fight for e4. Knight c6, and we see more pressure on this pawn now on d4. So the fight for the center continues. Castles. This by Seirawan. This is extremely aggressive. And finally, bishop takes c3. And the idea here now is to use tactical means to break this pin. So, for example, now if queen takes c3, which we discussed earlier was the original idea of bringing the queen to b3, well, Timman can play knight e4, attacking the queen and the bishop, and leading to some sharp complications and freeing itself from the pin at the same time. So therefore, after bishop takes c3, Seirawan finds a nice move here. And he plays d5, which is an in-between move for his Zwischenzug. And now we see that instead of just recapturing, making an automatic recapture, which is a common amateur mistake, is he finds another move to increase the tension. Okay, so this move right here probably caught Timman by some surprise here. So you know, it's because you would just expect a move like b takes c3 normally. So Timman played e takes d5, and c takes d5 was played, and we see that now white has a nice initiative. Black has several problems to deal with. Now later analysis has showed that let's go back a little bit, that after d5 black's best defense is probably e5, and then after d takes c6, then bishop c7. Remember, black is up a piece, so he can afford to give one of them back. And then c takes d7, bishop d7, g3, the idea of freeing kettle and the bishop, queen e7, getting out of the opposition of this rook, bishop g2, and then rook d8. And this is Timman's own line where he claimed equality. So it's better than what happened during the game, but I'm not sure if this is equal for black. I would give the edge to white there, but that's just me. All right, so let's go back. So after d5, he decided to take there. Right, e takes d5. Now c takes d5, and now he played bishop e5. And there's a difference here. So now after d takes c6, we can see that white has a good lead in development. Timman's king is still in the center. So lead in development, king into center. Lead in development plus king in the center. So what does that mean? That means it's time to step on the gas pedal as far as an attack is concerned. That's like a red flag to a bull. You have your opponent's king in the center of the board, and you have a lead in development. That means it's time to step on overdrive. So why do we need to step on the gas pedal? Is because those type of advantages, right? Lead in development, king in the center, they're only temporary. Because eventually, if we play passive moves, black will remove his king from the center by castling, and eventually he'll get his pieces out and catch up in development. So if you want to capitalize on this transient situation, you have to really play actively and jump on the opponent. It's kind of like, in mixed martial arts or boxing, when you get an opponent hurt, you got to jump on him, because if you let him recover, then he'll get all the senses back, and then he might be able to continue and even win the fight. But if you hurt him and jump on him, you may be able to knock him out. So it's kind of, when you have a lead in development, king in the middle, it's kind of like you had the opponent stunned a little bit, and now it's time to jump on him. So looking at this position, let's discuss the plan, for black here, for Timman. So basically, there is no great plan here, but there is the tremendous possibility of being involved in a miniature here. Again, his king is in the middle of the board, is behind in development. So it's basically a policy of damage control. So that's basically his strategy. So he has to try to consolidate, get his king into safety, and slowly get his pieces out. Okay, so he doesn't really have any attacking possibilities or anything. It's basically black is trying to consolidate. If black can somehow make it to an end game, right, he has this 3-2 majority over here on the queen side that he could think about, converting. But that is a long way off. So let's continue here. So after d takes c6, Timman played a real logical move in queen e7. So that move does two things. It defends the bishop here on e5, and it moves the queen out of opposition from the rook, which is always dangerous. So now Seirawan plays c takes d7. Bishop takes d7. Why does he play c takes d7? Again, having a lead in development, he opens up lines to the king. Damn it. Seirawan's next move, e3. Now, the basic idea is, okay, he's opening up lines to get his piece out, right? But it's deeper than that, because right now, after e3, there's a subtle threat here. If white could move again, here he would play rook takes d7. Can you see why? Because notice this knight is pinned, so the knight cannot take. So either the queen would have to take or the king. So let's just play a real bad move just to show you. So let's say rook g8. Then after rook d7, right, we see these lined up, and so that's your main idea. Of course, he would have to take with the king. But now, the knight takes e5, queen takes e5, right, drawing the defender away. Queen takes f7, check. King c6, and then just simply bishop f4. And black is definitely going to lose there. So even though e3 looks very innocent and normal, there's actually a threat there. Okay, so after e3, this is why Timman plays rook d8. to defend this piece. Let's look at some of the alternatives. So instead of rook d8, say he just decided to move the bishop, right, out of the way. So remember, now this piece is unprotected. Gains time. Rook c8. And another pin. If castle, right, look at the weakness around the white squares. Bishop a6, king b8, and you should be able to see this already. All you got to do is look at this diagonal, right? Knight takes, queen takes, and you can see the next move, right? Bishop back, pinning him and winning him. Always look for that stuff when you see open diagonals. Open diagonals. That's how the bishops make their money. If castle, knight takes e5, queen takes e5, bishop takes, queen takes, and got a problem here, hanging piece. And finally, h6, rook takes, king takes, knight takes, queen takes, and again, queen takes f7, king c6, and bishop f4 with the same ideas. So already we can see that black is in tremendous difficulties already. So out of all of that, Timman played rook d8. So here Seirawan played rook takes d7 anyway. Again, the knight cannot capture, well, without great losses in the position occurring. Doesn't want to capture with the queen, doesn't want to capture with the king, so the rook has to capture. And I'll just show you why you can't really capture with the king. Because what happens is queen a4 check. And king e6. That's loss for black. And I'm trying to think what else. If queen a4 check, and say if he goes here, you had the same setup with the diagonal. Knight takes, queen takes, and excuse me, skewer. And let's see, where else can we go with the king? Oh, okay, we can go to c8. But again, diagonal is open. And you just get bishop a6. Okay, so Timman takes with the rook. And then, of course, pin him and win him. Bishop b5. Bring out the last minor piece. And Timman plays bishop d6. Now, why not just castle? The reason why is because there's not enough protection. This queen becomes overworked. The queen is guarding 3 pieces here. So all you got to do is deflect the queen, and one of those pieces will be captured. So what happens here is just simply bishop takes d7. Again, the knight cannot capture because of the pin. The queen moves, and then the bishop on e5 is just kidnapped. Okay, so that's why he can't castle. So instead, Timman takes his time to move the bishop off of the e5 square. But again, it's like kind of, he has to waste time to move these pieces around. So rook d1, and now notice how every piece is develops for white. King still in the middle of the board, and this rook is in the corner. So finally, the rook d1 castles. Bishop takes. Queen takes. Now, what's the problem with this position? Again, now we had this famous opposition that I always talk about. So now you can probably easily see the next move. Just piling up. So now Timman has to figure out how to defend that bishop. Now some of you might have been tempted to rip open the king side with bishop takes f6, but after g takes f6, right, and queen d5, same principle. Rook d8, knight h4, the idea of going here and piling up. Queen e8, knight f5, and bishop c7. And then we see that white's attack is pushed back. So this is why Seirawan opted for bishop f4. c4. Nice move, of course, if takes. And then you have the same problem with the queen being skewered to the king. So that was an interesting move. If knight e8, then queen d5, that just wins. It's too much. There's no way to get this rook into the action and defend. Knight e4 with the same idea, protecting, but maybe still allowing this rook to come out. That's meant by queen d4, queen d5, where this knight is attacked and this bishop. Okay, so after bishop f4, c4 is tried. Of course not. Queen takes c4 because of rook c8. So queen c2, dropping back. Knight e8. And now that this knight goes back here, knight g5, and this is a fantastic move because white is attacking the h7 pawn, threatening mate, and then at the same time it gains the tempo to come here with the knight. So the only way to deal with that is play f5. f5 guards this square, right? So the knight on g5 can't jump in there, and it stops the mate. However, this pawn can now be captured with the check, and there's no way the rook can go over here now. So queen takes c4, and black is pretty busted here. Okay, so this is a great game by white so far. I mean, Seirawan never gave Timman a chance to really recover from that. When he hit him with that d5 earlier, he kind of just kept hitting him with threats and small problems to deal with, and he never really got his own game going. And by the time he was able to castle, he's still facing difficulties and wind up dropping the pawn. So far, the main thing to learn is how powerful a lead in development is, in combination with having the king in the center. Even though this game wasn't a miniature, as far as the king getting blown away, the game being over in 15 moves, it still showed the power of having that dynamic and how it could lead to a winning position, because this position is winning for white here. So when you do get that lead in development and you have a king in the center, that's when you really want to bear down and work really hard and find the move, or moves, to tear down your opponent's position. So let's continue. So king h8, bishop takes d6, knight takes d6, and this queen d5. So now just piling up on the pinned piece. Any amateur can do this, right? This is really the only move. Rook d8, and you see all kind of funny tactics arising. You got this king in the corner, you got the knight able to go there, so as well as there to attack this piece. So it's looking real scary for white now. So Timman played 96. Excuse me, Seirawan played 96. Queen c8 check. King b1. Rook d7. And then here, Seirawan plays a great move, and he plays queen takes d6. And black resigned here. And the reason why is because after rook takes d6, there's no way to stop rook d8 check. The king is in the corner, so mate is threatened and the queen is threatened. So there's no way to deal with both threats. Okay, let's go back, because I just want to show you some of the defenses that could have been possible. So after queen d5, right, this is a critical moment, Timman had played rook d8. Right, another defense is to try to defend laterally with rook f6. And now we can see the back rank is available. So for instance, queen a8 check, queen e8, queen takes, knight takes, rook d8, rook f8, and then rook a8 with the winning game. So that was a way the game could have gone. Instead of defending with rook d8 or rook f6, rook c8 was possible. King b1, now rook c6, and now notice the unprotected nature of the queen. It allows for this sharp tactic with knight f7 check, and now this is forced. Queen takes f7, and then the rook drops. The queen takes c6. Another variation, queen c7 check, then king b1, and the problem here is that black cannot stop both queen d6 and knight e6 with this fork on the queen and rook. So again, the dual threat. So that's why after bishop takes d6, knight takes d6, queen d5, Timman opted for rook d8. And this, he probably knew he was lost here, but he tried to give Seirawan a chance to go wrong here. And remember, Seirawan played the accurate and strong knight e6, just attacking one of the defenders. However, some of you might have been tempted because of this fork here to go for queen takes d6, right? With the idea of queen d6, rook d6, rook d6, and knight f7 right? Followed by knight takes d6, because that has happened to all of us before. Turn a winning game into a draw or a losing game. So let's look at it. So after queen d5, rook d8. If queen d6, instead of queen takes d6, that hurts right there. Queen c8. And now, after king b1, rook takes, rook takes. And again, the threat is rook d8 check, followed by knight f7 with the fork. So therefore, just king g8. And then black is the one in control. Just like that. So the lesson to be learned from that is you got to be careful. You got to be careful, especially when you're winning. Don't relax. So Seirawan, I played the strong move, knight e6. And queen c8 check was played. The other option was rook c8 check, king b1, rook c6. Then this move does the trick, knight d8. Why does that work? Besides forcing the defender to move, remember these pieces are loosely, barely holding up. So any type of stress on the position, this fall apart. So in this case, if queen c8, then the rook just drops. Because again, the way I look at the position, I see these pieces are not really being protected. They're only, for instance, this rook is protected only by the queen. The only thing that's protected 2 times is the knight. So the queen is unprotected. So this is really a precarious situation right here. So this move, knight e8, attacking this knight, draws the queen away, and then this piece drops. And of course, if say the rook went back like that, then you just simply capture. Then after say here, then you just play rook here, or you can even play that if you wanted to. Okay, and notice also, let's go back, knight d6, queen d5. Notice that the tactics will follow or favor the player who's better developed, better piece activity. Notice how all the tactics just flow in this game for white, in spite of and queen d6, in spite of black's valiant effort. It's just that nature of having a bad position is that the tactics are gonna favor the opponent who has a better piece placement and superiority in the position. So there's a lot of stuff there in that game. I hope that you learned a lot. As usual, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends. And that was a good game. Maybe to introduce some of you to Yasser Seirawan's games. I know you see him as a commentator, but the guy, in his heyday was also a fantastic, and still is, but in his competitive days, he was a fantastic chess player, and played some good games. All right. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys later.